Sanskrit?
I can try, but if anybody else wants to.
Okay, go ahead, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. This evening's reciters are, Jay Mataji, who's stepping in for someone, but I'll be reciting in Sanskrit, and Chetna Mataji will be reading English translation. And we will be reading from Canto 3, Chapter 23, verses 30 to 43. And also this evening at the end, towards the end of the session, there will be a beautiful bhajan, which will be sung by Purbasha and Pranshu, and they will be singing Yugalashtakam. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Who the iPhone is, please? Someone has joined with, it says iPhone. Okay, Pawan Prabhuji has joined, so he can recite. Hare Krishna, Pawan Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Yes.
Apologies.
Please,
I was a
we'll
minute
start
late.
with invocation 3 times, yes?
Sure, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, please accept my apologies. I was just a minute late. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Atadase swam atmanam Ragvinam Virajambaram Virajam Kritasvastyayanam Kanyabhir Bahumanitam.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Then, in a mirror, she beheld her own reflection. Her body was completely freed from all dirt, and she was adorned with a garland. Dressed in unsullied robes and decorated with auspicious marks of tilaka, she was served very respectfully by the maids.
Snatam Krita Shirasnanam Sarvabharana Bhushitam Niskagraivam Valayinam Kujat Kanchana Nupuram.
Her entire body, including her head, was completely bathed, and she was decorated all over with ornaments. She wore a special necklace with a locket. There were bangles on her wrists and tinkling anklets of gold about her ankles.
Sunyor Adyastaya Kanchya Kanchanya Bahuratnaya Harena Cha Maharena Uchakena Cha Bhushitam.
About her hips she wore a girdle of gold set with numerous jewels, and she was further adorned with a precious pearl necklace and auspicious substances.
Sudatha Subhruva Slaksana Snigdha Pangjena Chakshusa Padma Kosha Spradhani Lair Alakhaischalasan Mukham.
Her countenance shone with beautiful teeth and charming eyebrows. Her eyes, distinguished by lovely moist corners, defeated the beauty of lotus buds. Her face was surrounded by dark curling tresses.
Yada Sasmara Rishabam Risinam Daitam Patin Tatra Chaste Sahastribir Yatraste Sa Prajapati.
When she thought of her great husband, the best of the sages, Kardama Muni, who was very dear to her, she, along with all the maidservants, at once appeared where he was.
Parthuh purastad atmanam Strisahasravritam tada Nishamya tad yogagatim Samsayam pratyapadyata.
She was amazed to find herself surrounded by 1,000 maids in the presence of her husband and to witness his yogic power.
Satham kritamalasnanam Vibhrajantim apurvavat Atmanobhibhratim rupam Samvitharuchirastanim Vidyadhari sahasrena Sevyamanam suvasam sasam Jatha bhavo vimanam tada Arohayadamitranhan.
The sage could see that Devahuti had washed herself clean and was shining forth as though no longer his former wife. She had regained her original beauty as the daughter of a prince. Dressed in excellent robes, her charming breast duly girded, she was waited upon by a thousand of Gandharva girls. O destroyer of the enemy, his fondness of her grew, and he placed her on the aerial mansion.
तस्मिन्नलुप्ता महिमा प्रिययाङ्नुराक्तो विद्याधरीभिरुपचीर्णवपुर्विमाने अभ्राजोत्खाच कुमुद्घनावनापि धाराभिराव्रथायवोदुपतीर्णभास्ताम्.
Though seemingly attached to his beloved consort while served by the Gandharva girls, the sage did not lose his glory, which was mastery over his self. In the aerial mansion, Kardama Muni with his consort shone as charmingly as the moon in the midst of the stars in the sky, which causes rows of lilies to open in the ponds at night.
तेनास्तलोकपाविहारकुलचलेन्द्रा द्रोणे स्वनङ्गा सखमारुतसुभागसु सिद्धर्नुतो जुधिनी पातशिवास्वनासु रेमे चिरं धनधावललालनावरुति.
In that aerial mansion, he travelled to the pleasure valleys of Mount Meru, which were rendered all the more beautiful by cool, gentle, fragrant breezes that stimulated passion. In these valleys, the treasurer of the gods, Kuvera, surrounded by beautiful women and praised by the Siddhas, generally enjoys pleasure. Kardama Muni also, surrounded by the beautiful damsels and his wife, went there and enjoyed for many, many years.
वैश्राम्भके सुरासाने नन्धाने पुष्पभर्द्रके मानसे चैत्ररात्ये च सरेमे रामाय रतः.
Satisfied by his wife, he enjoyed in that aerial mansion not only on Mount Meru, but in different gardens known as Vaishrambaka, Surasana, Nandana, Pushpabhadraka, and Chaitratya, and by the Manasa Sarovar lake.
राजिस्नुना विमानेन खामधेना महीयसा वैमानिकान् आत्याशेथा चरल्लोकान् यथानिला.
He travelled in that way through the various planets, as the air passes uncontrolled in every direction, passing through the air in that great and splendid aerial mansion, which could fly at his will. He surpassed even the demigods.
किं तुरापादनं तेषां पुंसाम् उद्धामचेतसं यैराश्रितास्तीर्थपादाः चरणो व्यसनात्यया.
What is difficult to achieve for determined men who have taken refuge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's lotus feet? His feet are the source of sacred rivers like the Ganges, which put an end to the dangers of mundane life.
प्रेक्षयित्वा भुवो घोलम् पत्न्यैयावन् स्वसंस्थया भवश्चर्यं महायोगी स्वश्रम्यान्यवर्तता.
After showing his wife the globe of the universe and its different arrangements, full of many wonders, the great yogi Kardama Muni returned to his own hermitage. Thank you for the opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Antakoti Vaishnava ki jai. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Apologies if I made any mistakes. Thank you so much. Hari Bol.
Jai, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Pavan Prabhu. Mataji, sorry, I've forgotten your name.
Chetna
Yes.
Mataji, it is.
Chetna, Mataji.
Chetna,
Thank you
yes.
so much.
Thank you.
Such beautiful recitation, both the English and Sanskrit. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to today's chat, the 21st of December, 2025. My name is Krishna Govind Dasa. Please accept my humble obeisances. Of Lord Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. So today's verses we're going to be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3. Canto 3's title, The Status Quo. We're reading from chapter 23, Devahuti's Lamentation. The verses that we're reading today or we'll be discussing is 34, 35, 36, and 37. So with your permission, I shall begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayan Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narotanam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtashu Bhadrashu Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatamutam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. So text 34. Yada samsara rishabham rishena dayitam patim tatat kaste sahastribir yatraste sa prajapati. Translation.
Prabhuji, are you sharing?
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. Just let me know if you can see that. And you can, I assume you can hear me okay?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, great. I'll just read the verse again. Yatra samsara rishabham rishanam dayitam patim tatra kaste sahastribir yatraste sa prajapati. Translation. When she thought of a great husband, the best of the sages, Kadama Muni, was very dear to her. She, along with all her maidservants, at once appeared where he was. Purport. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. It appears from this verse that in the beginning, Devahuti thought herself to be dirty and dressed in a very niggardly way. When her husband asked her to enter the lake, she saw the maidservants, and they took care of her. Everything was done within the water, and as soon as she thought of her beloved husband Kadama, she was brought before him without delay. These are some of the powers attained by perfect yogis that can immediately execute anything they desire. Translation for this verse. When she thought of a great husband, the best of the sages, Kadama Muni, was very dear to her. She, along with all the maidservants, at once appeared where he was. So recite the Mangala Charan prayers. Do join in. Om Gyana Timrandasya Gyana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gaurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rapakada Maya Tadati Swapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sangana Lalita Shivashaka Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vishabhana Sita Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'd like to seek the blessings of my spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Swami, Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Pishtayu Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Swami Tinamane, also seeking the blessings of His God-founder Church, Srila Prabhupada, Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Pishtayu Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamane, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pachayane, Nirvishesha Sanyavadi Paschatya Desatarine. Also kindly seeking the blessings of all the devotees listening. May you give me the opportunity and your blessings so that I could speak on the wonderful glories and topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the Srimad Bhagavatam and His wonderful devotees. And may whatever I say is pleasing, truthful, and beneficial to all of you, as well as myself. So going on to this particular verse that we were reading earlier on. So just a little background, just of those who may have joined just recently. This is a story, a narration between Kadama Muni. He's a great yogi, great devotee of Lord Vishnu, along with his wife, who's Devahuti. She happens to be the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, the great king, the emperor of the universe. And it so happened that Devahuti, she was so beautiful and attractive, and she has to be because she's also the mother of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Kapila Dev. And when she married Kadamba Muni was a very simple ascetic, very simple place where you worshipped Lord Vishnu, and a simple place where they were actually resting, cooking, and going about their daily duties. And Devahuti, because she was a very dutiful wife, by Vedic culture, she was always being obedient and serving her spiritual master in the form of her husband. The husband, Kadama Muni, was constantly serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead by performing different kind of yoga, meditations, yajnas, different sort of spiritual, progressive processes in which he could connect himself to Lord Vishnu. But in doing so, Devahuti, being a very dutiful wife, she was actually serving her husband in every way possible, perhaps arranging for all the paraphernalia, for the yajnas, the sacrifices, the offerings to the lordships on behalf of her husband. But in doing so, she neglected herself so much that she became very thin, very frail. She lost her luster, she lost her beauty, she lost all her divinely beauty qualities as well. And she felt very, very embarrassed to see herself in that condition in front of her husband. Although she was happy to serve her husband, she felt that she also wanted to have a child, but because she felt she did look very attractive, the husband may not really show any respect or feel any affection towards her. So she, in kind ways, spoke to her husband, Kadama Muni, please, my dear husband, you promised me that you'll look after me, and you promised me you'll find a nice place for me. And of course, Kadama Muni, knowing being a yogi, being very transcendentalist, he understood the heart of Devahuti and told her to go and bathe. And because she hadn't bathed herself for many years, or for at least what it mentions in the purports, she didn't take care of herself. Her hair became very matted, so obviously she didn't comb her hair very nicely. Her dressings were probably all torn and very old, and she lost all the luster, as I mentioned. She became very thin. That her eyeballs had gone into the socket of her eyes. So in this way, when she actually bathed in the river in this particular lake where there was a beautiful house. She was taken care of by thousands of maidservants, which are Gandharvas themselves. And when they took care of her, they bathed her, they cleaned her, they washed her, they took care of her, all her particular needs. And she came out from this particular place of the water where the 1,000 maidservants took care of her. And then immediately when she saw Kadamba Muni, she also had that desire to be with him as well. So in this particular verse, when she thought of a great husband, the best of the sages, Kadamba Muni, was very dear to her. She, along with all her maidservants, once appeared where he was. So Kadamba Muni, once again, knowing exactly what was on her mind, he allowed for her to be right next to him, along with the 1,000 maidservants were taking care of him. So we have to also remember that in this case, we understand that Devahuti, from her previous verses, because she wanted a child, as I mentioned, because she was not feeling very presentable in front of her Lord, Kadamba Muni, she felt very insecure, she felt her beauty and lust had gone away. The husband may not be attracted to her anymore, and because she was had that desire to have a child, Prabhupada mentions in one of the purpose that we mentioned last week, that when a woman is very attractive and the husband feels affection towards the girl and procreates, then they will have a male boy or male child. And if, on the other hand, if if a lady is very attracted to a man and they desire a child, then the likelihood that it'll be a female child. This was something that we discussed last week in the purpose of Srila Prabhupada's translation. So, but at the same time, you have to remember that affection that Devahuti had for Kadamba Muni wasn't based on a material affection, but her desire was that she wanted a child in order to carry on with the progeny in a spiritual way. As we understand, Kadamba Muni made a promise to her father that he's happy to actually become her husband and get married to her and beget child, but he doesn't want to remain a householder forever because it was in his nature to constantly serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead 24 hours a day. And in doing so, then we would have to take Vanaprastha at an early stage. And Devahuti understood that sort of condition. So that's why she wanted to make herself look really presentable in such a way that Kadamba Muni would be very attracted to her. And therefore, the story continues on. But also at the same time, we have to remember there's a difference between material affection and spiritual affection. For instance, material affection, when you have attraction to, say, a man and a woman, is based on lusty desires. Whereas for a spiritual desire, spiritual level, it's based on spiritual love. Our reasoning of procreating for the purpose of having Krishna conscious children. From a material affection, when there's unwanted sort of relationships, you have unwanted progenies, which causes a bit of burden. Not only having unwanted children, the women become abused, the crime rates go up high. But on a spiritual level, when you have children and you encourage them in a spiritual environment, they become very Krishna conscious. They also neglect themselves from avoiding criminal activities. So we have to ensure that whatever we're doing it in such a way to please the Lord, having Krishna conscious children. And you can see within the temple community, those are very much inclined in spiritual activities, partly because of their parental love, care, and affection. They also become very much involved in spiritual activities. And from the previous verses, we also mentioned about how certain lady personalities that were very much affectionate towards her husbands, they perform great austerities. And Devahuti, she also performed great austerities. An example was given in the previous purport, like Bhavani. She's the wife of Lord Shiva. She performed tremendous activities and spiritual austerities to get Lord Shiva as a husband, even though Lord Shiva was living in a very simple life. He wasn't dressed always so nicely. He had ashes covered over his body. He had a snake around his neck that could frighten a lot of women off. But for some reason, Bhavani, who is Parvati, She had so much affection for Lord Shiva and she performed austerities to have Lord Shiva as her husband. Similarly, the other examples were given, like the 16,108 wives of Lord Krishna. They weren't just ordinary personalities, they weren't just ordinary women. These ladies, these personalities, these queens of Lord Krishna, who Krishna had personally looked after each and every single wife as if they thought that Krishna was their own husband and nobody else's, given their own palace, their own places, where they could enjoy along with Krishna and their children. But these queens were not ordinary personalities. As I mentioned, they performed many, many austerities, life after life, just to beget Krishna as their husband. So just to understand, when we perform the austerity, when we perform charity and penance, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, we should not neglect that, then that allows us certain pious activities in our journey to continue on from one life to another life. And that's the idea of perfecting ourselves. By performing austerities, we don't come back to this material world. We live in a place where there is spiritual freedom. There's no anxiety. Vaikuntha, place where there's no anxieties whatsoever. And that marriage, when we have with between husband and wife, it's based on celestial marriages. It's actually a ceremony between Vishnu and Lakshmi Devi, and the bride and the groom allows Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi Devi to reside in their hearts. So the marriage is actually a ceremony taking place between Vishnu and Lakshmi Devi. And we also mentioned about Kadama Muni was a great yogi. So there were many qualities of a yogi, and there was 8 particular qualities, phenomena that a yogi represents. Does anybody remember any of them? I'll give you one sort of hint or clue. One of them was that the yogi can become lighter than the lightest. Anybody else remember anything that we said from last week? Different qualities that a yogi possesses? Okay, if not, would anybody like to?
They can become bigger or smaller or something like that.
Yes, well done, Jay. Mataji, would you like to read this verse? This is a verse between Lord Krishna and Uddhava. Uddhava is asking and inquiring about different qualities of devotional life. And Lord Krishna is explaining this particular verse about the qualities of the yogi from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is titled Lord Krishna's Description of Mystic Yoga Perfection. Sorry, Canto 11, which is a general history, and that's the chapter 15, and this is verse 4 and 5. Just a little recap. Are you okay to recite?
Do you want me to read? Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll try. Prabhuji,
Yeah,
Hare
sure.
Krishna. Thank you. Anima Mahima
Yeah, Murti. Can you hear us? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to start again?
Yeah. Well, there was a bit which we missed out.
Sorry. I'll quickly move to somewhere else. Okay. Anima Mahima Murter Lagima Praptir Indriya hai Prakamyam Shruta Drishteshu Shakti Prernam Ishita Guneshwa Asango Vasishita Yat Kamastad Avasyati Etame Siddhayah Somya Ashtav Outpatika Matmataha.
Great. And you can read the translation too.
Translation. Among the eight primary mystic perfections, the 3 by which one transforms one's own body are anima, becoming smaller than the smallest, mahima, becoming greater than the greatest, and laghima, becoming lighter than the lightest. Through the perfection of prapti, one acquires whatever one desires, and through prakamya siddhi, one experiences any enjoyable object, either in this world or the next. Through Ishita Siddhi, one can manipulate the sub-potencies of Maya, and through the controlling potency called Vashita Siddhi, one is unimpeded by the three modes of nature. One who has acquired Kama Vasayita Siddhi can obtain anything from anywhere to the highest possible limit. My dear gentle Uddhava, these 8 mystic perfections are considered to be naturally existing and unexcelled within this world. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Srila
So
Prabhupada.
nicely recited. Thank you, Mataji. Yes, so these are the qualities of a yogi that can become smaller than the smallest, lighter than the lightest, greater than the greatest, and so forth. But we have to remember that isn't the real objective of our spiritual journey. See, our objective, as Krishna says, Bhaktya Mama Vijanati, one can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is fully engaged in devotional service, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Sorry, beg your pardon. So we're going to remember. Hare Krishna Mataji, is there any way we can put you on mute? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so basically, this spiritual journey, see, many people, as I mentioned, many yogis, they perform austerities, they stay by the Ganges, by the Himalayas, they can perform tapasya in the cold and the extreme heat, all sorts of weather conditions, not eating for months on end and so forth. Just like what Dhruva Maharaj did over 6 months, but of course he had spiritual potency that in the material level now is very, very difficult to obtain. But one thing that we have to remember, because certain yogis, they have this propensity to perform so many different kind of siddhis, people get very much attracted to these kind of, perfectionists of yogi siddhis. So, for instance, we have a lot of Babas who can perform different kinds of phenomena, like being able to light something without the use of any artificial means of lighting it, like a light or some sort of matches. You see videos of people just putting their hand over rolled up paper and it ignites itself. People perform different miracles or circle miracles where they perform or produce ashes from nothing as well. So generally, people get very attracted because they feel that this particular siddhi or yogi, they have that potency, they have that connection to Krishna. But Prabhupada explains that we have to be very careful that we don't just take spiritual life very cheaply and just not accept somebody just for some showpiece as well. We shouldn't be sort of amazed by certain activities that they do because we see magicians who perform all sorts of tricks, but they don't claim to be God either, nor do they want any sort of followers in any such way. Well, we have to sort of follow the process as explained in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that, that one should render devotional service to a bona fide spiritual master, being inquisitive to him. And then when you do so, the spiritual master reveals transcendental knowledge to you. One thing that I forgot to mention about that was also like, for instance, when we get very attracted to certain personalities, I know for a fact that my friend of mine and his English husband and an Indian lady, they couldn't have a child at all, and they went to see some Baba in India, and the Baba actually explained that, don't worry, you will have a child, and they explained that to me. And they surely enough, they did have a child and such a beautiful name, and they named him Krishna as well. And because of this Baba, who I won't mention the name, he also claims to be God himself. He's no longer here now anyway, but anyway, he claimed to be God, and people followed him and worshipped him because he had this unbelievable magic potency. But still, Srila Prabhupada mentions in the Bhagavatam or in other verses from the purport of the Bhagavad Gita that sometimes these yogis, they may show transcendental abilities to do something, but then when they have a toothache, they have to go and see a dentist to sort out their tooth. If they were the Supreme Lord, then surely they're beyond any sort of fear, any sort of beyond any sort of sinful sort of conditioning, any suffering whatsoever. So when we actually approach a bona fide yogi as spiritual master, we have to understand, is he revealing the truth as based on the Bhagavatam, as based on the Bhagavad Gita? Or is it just something very artificial for having some reputation as some mystic or some empowered personality? Yeah. Now just going on to the next verse, text 35. Partha purasthadatmanam Shri Sahasravitam tada Nishamyata Yoga Gatim Samshayam Prachapadyata. Translation. She was amazed to find herself surrounded by 1,000 maids in the presence of her husband and to witness his yogic power. Purport. Devahuti saw everything miraculously done. Yet when, what before her husband, she couldn't understand that it was all due to his great yogic mystic power. She understood that nothing was impossible for yogi like Kadama Muni. So much of the relevance of this particular verse and purport I explained a little earlier. Then we'll go to text 36 and 37. Satam krita malasnana vibrajantim apurvavat atmano viparatim rupam samita ruchirastanim vijadari sahasrena svayamanam savasanam chato bhavo vimanam tad arohayadamitrahan. Translation. The sage could see that Devahuti had washed herself clean and was shining forth as though no longer his former wife. She had regained her original beauty as the daughter of a prince. Dressed in excellent robes, her charming breasts duly girded, she was waited upon by 1,000 Gandharva girls. The destroyer of the enemy, his fondness for her grew, and he placed her on the aerial mansion. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Before her marriage, when Devahuti was brought by her parents before the sage Kadama, she was a perfectly beautiful princess. Kadama Muni remembered her former beauty. But after her marriage, when she was engaged in the service of Kadama Muni, she had neglected to care for her body like a princess. Since there was no means for such care, her husband was living in a cottage, and since she was always engaged in serving him, her royal beauty disappeared, and she became just like an ordinary maidservant. Now, after being bathed by the Gandharva girls by the order of Kadama Muni's yogic power, she regained her beauty. Kadama Muni felt attracted to the beauty she had shown before the marriage. The real beauty of a young woman is her breasts. When Kadama Muni saw the breasts of his wife so nicely decorated, increasing her beauty many times, he was attracted. Even though he was a great sage, Sripad Shankaracharya has therefore warned the transcendentalists that one who is after transcendental realization should not be attracted by the raised breasts of a woman because they are nothing but an interaction of fat and blood within the body. So I'll just read this verse again. The sage could see that Devahuti had washed herself clean, was shining forth, and though no longer his former wife, she had regained her own original beauty as the daughter of a prince. Dressed in excellent robes, her charming breast duly girded, she was waited upon by 1,000 Gandharva girls. Our destroyer of the enemy, his fondness for her grew, and he placed her on the aerial mansion. So it's explained when she was feeling very inadequate in her sort of nature and the way she looked, her representation in serving her husband. She felt that, she had neglected her body just to serve her husband. And when she was asked by her husband to go and bathe in the kund, I think it was, the name of the kund was Sarvakund. Okay, I did write it down. If it comes to me, I'll make it. Oh, Bindu Sarovar. She took a bath in Bindu Sarovar, and in the Bindu Sarovar there was 1,000 maidens who took care of her, dressed her nicely, put beautiful ornaments. And when she came again, she was once again looking for husband. And then she wanted to also please the Gadavagos who looked after her. And then, of course, by the mystic potency and the power of Kadama Muni, placed her on the aerial mansion, which was bedecked by beautiful jewels, gold, diamonds, emeralds. And it's something inconceivable for us because we're not able to actually understand anything. But it actually mentions that even the yogi can create a planet if they wanted to because they've been given the ordained spiritual qualities by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But one thing I wanted to sort of touch up on all of you is to understand this particular verse. So although before her marriage she was very, very beautiful, Devahuti, she was, as I mentioned, she was going to be the mother of Kapila Dev, and also she was the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. But also at the same time, how do we really understand our sort of spiritual sort of culture, say from the days of the old, where a lady would be very obedient in serving her husband, regardless of the difficulties that she faced, and in modern day time as well. So if you look at modern day time, you know, a woman always wants to look very attractive. We see all this social media posts, everybody's posting on their new sort of cosmetics, new sort of styles of hairdressing, new clothing. Everything is based on making a woman look always very attractive. And we get so many influencers who always try to impress the way they look by also encouraging other women to also look very nice. And of course, there's obviously nothing wrong with a woman looking very beautiful and pretty and dressing up nicely. But if it's done in a way that is to please their husband and not anybody else, that is the real chastity of a beauty of a woman itself. She doesn't sort of torment other men by just trying to look very nicely presentable, but she just wants to do it to please her husband. That's it. But then what happens if they try and dress up very nicely, they look very decoratively beautiful, they get attracted? Men by nature, they become very lusty. And what becomes out of it? Then they sort of seduce a woman, they unnecessarily criminal activities take place. Unfortunately, I don't like using that word. They become rapists and all sorts of sexual abuse takes place itself. And then what happens to the poor woman? She has a childless father. You know, she's sort of homeless. She's not been taken care of. She's neglected by society. She's neglected by all her friends, her parents, because she's considered to be an outcast almost. Just like in India, when you go to certain places, there are places where women who have been rejected by their society, who have been divorced, rejected by their husband or treated badly, abused, and they end up going to ashrams where only women are taken care of. In Vrindavan, of course, you have the widows of Vrindavan who perhaps have lost their husband. There may be a respectful husband as well, but there may be other women who've left a sort of that connection with their husband who may have been sort of very abusive or not so nice. So it's important that not only should a woman look very beautiful, but as men, we should not use them as a tool of lusty desires as well, because that is the downfall of our own spiritual journey. This is exactly what happened to Ravana when he was lusting for the Supreme Personality of God's wife, Sita Devi, goddess of fortune. What was the cause of his lust? The downfall of his whole life, his family, his whole kingdom, all his army, his kinsmanship, all were destroyed because he had that desire, this lusty desire for Lakshmi Devi. And just also, Arjuna also mentions to Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, like if we don't care of women, then there'll be unwanted progeny, women, children will be abused as well by society, unwanted population. So supposing in the days of old, if I just ask a certain question to all of you, if you feel comfortable to answer, please do so. What do you think the duty of a husband was to a wife? Say perhaps in this story of Devahuti and Kadama Muni, what qualities can you see of a husband, of his duty to a wife? Anything? Anyone? Don't feel shy. Even if it's strong, don't worry. Okay, you are feeling shy. Anyway, I'll just perhaps share something which I sort of, looked up myself. So protection and provision, you need protection. The husband's duty is to protect his wife. And here Kadama Muni was protected in Devahuti, even though Devahuti was serving her husband so nicely, she neglected herself. But the protection was always there. And that was actually the austerity that Devahuti went through. She was rewarded so nicely by the beautiful thousand maidens taking care of her, and also the celestial palace as well. So there has to be protection and provision for between the husband and the wife. Special guidance is important. So here in the case of Kadamba Muni was performing spiritual activities, wasn't just for his own benefit. 50% of his spiritual, how do you call it? Spiritual sort of blessings or spiritual privileges that he's acquired, accumulated over his rendering service to the Supreme Lord. 50% of those, purity and piety, is passed on to their wife as well as their children. Respect and support. There always has to be respect and support between the husband and the wife. And fidelity and regulations. Fidelity is very important. So Devahuti, because she felt very neglected, she felt that the husband may not be very attracted to her. But Kadamba Muni was such a powerful personality. He didn't really have any attraction for anybody else at all. But he was very, very focused on his service to Krishna. And then performing these regulations, performing all the duties, he also benefited by spiritual activities, by also acquiring a very wonderful wife who was taking care of him in every ways possible. Now, in the same concept, what would the role of a lady be to her husband, say in the same instance? What was Devahuti's responsibility to her husband? Any sort of suggestions at all? Okay, still feeling shy. Okay, yes, go ahead, Mataji.
I was just going to say to serve him so he could do his penances and austerities, to look after his needs while he was doing that.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much. And that was definitely one of them. Support and encouragement. Supporting the husband allows this husband to also progress in his spiritual journey, because as I mentioned, 50% of the spiritual piety gets passed on to the wife as well. Other qualities of a woman would be chastity and faithfulness. And this is what I mentioned earlier. By being very affectionate to her husband, it's a form of chastity and a form of virtue and surrender, in not only to her husband, but also in her own good qualities as well. Service and respect. So that's another wonderful quality Devahuti was showing to her husband. She was showing servitude all the time, serving the husband, and also gratitude as well. She'd never complained once at all. It's only when she felt very frail, very weak, very neglected in her own personal life, because she wanted a child, she also wanted to show that her husband also had attraction for her as well. Support and encouragement is also something which Mataji had mentioned earlier on, and also household management that Devahuti was doing all the household chores, taking care of the day-to-day activities, cleaning the cottage, perhaps, of course, as we mentioned, getting all the paraphernalia for Kadamba Muni, doing the cooking, and other chores like washing and everything else. It's not something that she wanted to do it just because she had to do it, but she did it because out of her duty as a wife. And also, in both relationships, you have to remember the key thing was Hare Krishna, if you could be on mute, please. Thank you. I'm not, how do you call it? I don't have facility to mute anyone. But anyway, one of the things I mentioned was being kind, caring, loving. And when you are kind, caring, and loving, your relationship develops really nicely. Now, but those qualities may have been there many hundreds of years ago when a wife was very dutiful to her husband. But in modern day times now, things are slightly different. There's a certain level of responsibility, a certain level of equality. as well. Certain respect a man has for a woman, and a woman has a respect for a wife. Wife has a respect for her husband too. But if you don't have those sort of neutral and servitude towards one another, then certainly you're headed for a disaster in your married life. So some of the things that we should take into consideration in this modern day is taking care of children. We both have responsibilities taking care of children. It's not an easy thing, just passing the responsibility to the mother. You see in Mother Nature, like when in the animal kingdom, mammal kingdom, like the husband, the male has procreation with the female counterpart once they have the child, but the male figure just runs away, and the responsibility runs on the female aspect of the animal kingdom to take care, protect her children or her young ones, and feeding them, giving them all the shelter that they need, and protect them from other sort of dangerous animals as well. And in modern days, in modern relationship, spiritual support and spiritual support and guiding one another, giving them moral support. Not that one should sort of try to advance better than the other person. You should do it collectively. And there's so many ways in doing that. We understand there's so much pressures in life. There's work pressure. There's pressure from finance, health, family, parents, youngsters. It's unlimited. That's level of pressure that we have. Sometimes we realize it, sometimes we don't. Some are higher, some are lower, some are greater for some families, some are sort of negligible in some families, but certainly those pressures are always there directly or indirectly. But by serving the Lord in so many ways, both collectively at the temple, at home, having a shrine at the temple, at home, serving their lordships, offering food to them, doing kirtans together, reading together, doing seva together, participating in festival, spiritual activities, book distribution, deity worship, cooking, so many things. There's unlimited. There's no thing that you can imagine that you're coming down for serving Krishna and his devotee, but importantly, serving Krishna, Radharani, and your spiritual master is one of the most important things to keep yourself and the family together. Now, I'll just share this last verse with all of you. Basically, this particular verse is quite a nice verse. I just came by it by chance. As we're so fortunate in this day and age with modern technology, you type in a few words and you get whatever you want at the tip of a button, whereas previously you would have to read many, many books to get to it. Just to finish off, this is Canto 7, The Signs of God, Chapter 11, The Perfect Society, the 4 Social Classes. So does anybody know what the 4 social classes are? The Varnashram?
Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra.
Yep, that's very good. And then within that, there's these brahmachari life, there's the grihastha life, there's the vanaprast, and the final stages, sannyas. Good, very good. Mataji, are you okay to read this verse and the translation?
I can't read.
Okay, sure.
There's Sanskrit. I can't.
Okay, sure. Does anybody else want to read this verse?
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah, go ahead, Pavan Prabhu.
Can I try, Prabhuji? Thank you. Strinam chapati devanam tachushurna sanukulata tadbandhusva anuvrittischa nityam tadvrata dharanam.
Thank you. That's brilliant. I know sometimes there's a tongue twister. One of the way I was taught is just to break it into small pieces like chu, shu, shan, and uku, lata, or something like that. Yeah. Perhaps you could read the translation and a few of the purport lines as well. Yeah, Prabhuji?
Sure, Prabhuji. To render service to the husband, to be always favorably disposed toward the husband, to be equally well disposed toward the husband's relatives and friends, and to follow the vows of the husband. These are the 4 principles to be followed by women, described as chaste.
Chaste, yeah.
Chaste.
And the purport, if you read a few lines until I say stop.
Sure. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It is very important for peaceful household life that a woman follow the vow of her husband. Any disagreement with the husband's vow will disrupt family life. In this regard, Chanakya Pandita gives a very valuable instruction. Dampatyo kalaho nasti, tatra srihi swayam agataha. When there are no fights between husband and wife, the the goddess of fortune automatically comes to the home. The woman's education should be conducted along the lines indicated in this verse. The basic principle for a
Chaste.
the basic principle for a chaste woman is to be always favorably disposed towards her husband. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, verse 40, it is said, Strisu dusthasu varsneya jayate varna sankaraha. If the women are polluted, there will be varna sankara population. In modern terms, the varna sankara are the hippies who do not follow any regulative injunctions. Another explanation is that when the population is varna sankara, no one can know who is on what platform. The Varnashrama system scientifically divides society into 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. But in Varna Sankara society, there are no such distinctions, and no one can know who is who. In such a society, no one can distinguish between a Brahmana, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, and a Sudra. For peace and happiness in the material world, the Varnashrama institution must be introduced. The symptoms of one's activities must be defined, and one must be educated accordingly. Then spiritual advancement will automatically be possible. Hare Krishna.
Great. Thank
Prabhupada
you
ki
so
jai.
much. Thank you, Pavan Prabhu. So nicely recited. Thank you. So these are the important points about the whole relationship within the society is based on the relationship between a husband and a wife. So here, in this particular purport, it mentions about the responsibility, but also we have to remember there's also like a level of responsibility between the husband to the wife as well. So although it mentions about the qualities of a wife to the husband, but similarly it also applies the opposite direction as well. In order to have a peaceful life in your house, when you have a peaceful life where there are no fights between husband and wife, then what does Prabhupada mention? The beautiful verse by Chanakya Pandit, Dampatiyo kaloho nasti tatrashi swayam agataha. We always want the goddess of fortune residing in our home. When you have the goddess of fortune residing in your home, there's peace, prosperity, there's happiness, there's no sort of inauspiciousness whatsoever. Because the goddess of fortune, she is the husband of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And now, if you understand Supreme Personality of Godhead has no anxiety, no sort of quarrel with anyone at all, he's free from envy, free from any sort of influence from anybody else at all. So similarly, this beautiful wife, Lakshmi Devi, is also considered to be pure by nature. So when you actually have that responsibility of taking care of your husband and your wife, then there will be proper Varnashram. Varnashram, as Mataji mentioned, the different levels, the Brahmana stage, the Kshatriya stage, the Vaishya and the Shudra stage. But if you do not follow the regulated principles of taking care of women and husband and society, then there will be, as Prabhuji mentioned in Prabhupada's verse, Varna Shankara. Varna Shankara is something which has no sort of conditioning of following regulated principles. Varnashrams will have no distinguishment between the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Sudras. Everybody would be considered to be a Shudra themselves. So really, if we want real peace and happiness, Varnashram should be introduced, but at the same time, that can only happen when you have a spiritual relationship between a husband and a wife. I hope that's so clear for all of you. And, I sometimes I do feel guilty as well, although when we're talking about these particular verses and it mentions about certain things that we have to do and not do in order to become a better devotee, I should honestly say sometimes I'm not perfect, I'm not pure, I'm not even a little bit of a devotee, and there's many mistakes I made. There's sometimes I made my wife cry, sometimes she's made me cry. But what it is, every time I read something like this, makes you want to understand a bit more. How can we live a more happier life? Happier life with happier children, happier relationships, not only within our family, other family members, brothers, sisters, parents, our grandchildren, so forth. The generation is unbelievable. Friends, neighbors, colleagues, it all applies in whatever capacity we can. And we don't even have to preach to them. Being kind natures, as I mentioned, the qualities of a husband and a wife, protection, provision, spiritual guidance, respect and support, fidelity, regulation, kind, caring, loving, taking care of children, household chores, jointly done together, spiritual support and guidelines, supporting one another, maintaining household as well. Because nowadays, as you understand, it's not easy to maintain a home, family, a car, whatever facilities we need. Both of the husband and wife work, and they sort of share a certain burden to help the upkeeps of their financial situation and raise them children in a way, give charity and donations to a plausible sort of cause as well, to the temple, book distribution in so many ways as well. So I hope that's given you a little guideline. I better stop there. I did realize the time's slightly going over, and I'll pass it to Namrata Mataji and Shriji Kishori Mataji. Hare Krishna, please forgive me for any offenses or mistakes I've made to Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can you hear me, Prabhuji?
Yes, I can, Namrata Mataji.
Beautifully explained. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Beautiful verses.
Your voice is just slightly low, though, Namrata Mataji.
Can you hear me now, Prabhuji?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Beautifully explained, as always. Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, for today's bhajan, we have our dear Purbasha and Pranshu who will be singing a beautiful bhajan, Yuglashtakam. So, Prabhuji, are you okay if I share my screen? Okay. My screen. Can you see the screen, Purbasha, Pranshu?
Yes.
Okay, when you're ready, Haribol. We could start with English recitation first, if that's okay, please. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Radha is made of pure love for Krishna, and Hari is made of pure love of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. Radha is the treasure of Krishna, and Hari is the treasure of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. Radha pervades the life force of Krishna, and Hari pervades the life force of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. Radha is totally melted with Krishna, and Hari is totally melted with Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter.
Radha is situated in the body of Krishna, and Hari is situated in the body of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. Radha is fixed in the heart of Krishna, and Hari is fixed in the heart of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. Radha wears a cloth of blue color, and Hari wears cloth of yellow color. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. Radha is the mistress of Vrindavan, and Krishna is the master of Vrindavan. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter.
Hare Krishna. Krishna Prema Hey, can you hear me?
Parvasha, I think just check you haven't got your phone on speaker mode. There's a bit of echo otherwise.
Issues on the laptop, so
Oh, okay. So just see if your of your laptop, just have your sound level low,
Oh,
but
okay.
your mic's still on.
The mic is on.
Yeah.
Your audio setting.
Your voice is okay, but when she was singing, there was a bit of echo. But try again anyway, Prabhasha.
Krishna.
Is it any better?
Okay. Namrata Mataji, is it okay on your side? Can you hear okay?
Prabhuji, no, I don't hear it.
Yeah. Are you allowed to play without the harmonium? Is that okay?
Yes, yeah.
So,
Branch, did you change something? Okay.
Wait, I'll try once more. If it doesn't
Okay.
work, I'll sing without.
your voice is okay.
Krishna Prema.
Yeah, that's better. I think what it is, because when you're playing the harmonium sound is louder than your voice. So then we can't hear your voice.
Raise your voice then. Okay.
Yeah.
Krishna Prema Mai Radha Radha Prema Mai Krishna Prema Mai Radha Radha Prema Mai Radha Krishna Yati Mama Jivane Sane Radha Krishna Yati Mama Krishna Syadra Vinam Radha Yadra Vinam Krishna Yadra Vinam Radha Radha Yadra Vinam
Sanchita Mataji, it's a bit difficult to hear Purbasha and Pranshu.
Prabhasha, try singing without the harmonium.
Okay.
Yeah, is that okay?
Krishna Pranamai Prana Krishna Pranamai Prana Jivane Nitya Radha Krishna Gati Mama Jivane Nitya Krishna Gati Mama
Krishna Dhruvamai Jivane Nidhane Nityam Radha Krishna Gati Baba Jivane Nidhane Nityam Radha Krishna Gati Krishna Sita Radha Situ Krishna Sita Situ Krishna Gati Mama Jivane Satya Krishna Gati Mama Krishna Chitta Stita Radha Chitta Sito Hari Krishna Chitta Sita Radha Chitta Sito Hari Jivane Nidhane Nityam Radha Krishna Gati Mama Jivane Nityam Radha Krishna Gati Mama Nilamar Taraka Pitamar Taraka Nilamar Pitamar Jivane Krishna Gati Mama Jivane Tane Krishna Gati Mama Vrindavaneshwari Radha Krishna Vrindavaneshwara Vrindavaneshwari Krishna Vrindavaneshwara Jivane Nidhane Nityam Radha Krishna Gati Mama Jivane Nidhane Krishna Jivane Krishna Te Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Radha Landanishwara, Radha Landanishwara, Radha Landanishwara, Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Sorry for our mistakes and the technical difficulties.
Haribol, wonderful, beautifully sang for Basha and Pranshu. I have to say, you always, every school holidays, you both practice and come and present yourself so well. Haribol. Thank you so much,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
All glories
Thank
to
you so much for Basha and Pranshu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for Basha and Pranshu. How old are you?
I'm 15 and
I'm 10.
That's very good. So beautifully sung. Yes, apart from the technical issues, everything was really good. It was.
Did I meet you today in the temple? I had lost my phone. Today?
Krishna Govind Prabhu, where was it you? I mean, Prabhasha lost her phone today. You helped her find?
Yes.
Yeah. So you are meeting.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes, because you were crying. And I said, okay, let's find out where you went. I backtraced it and we went to Radharani's bakery where you bought all those pizzas and samosas, but you didn't share it with us. Anyway, I'm glad you found your phone. So as you mentioned, there was some sort of important information that you needed for your studies. I'm so glad that you found it. It's not very nice when you lose something. It's not based on material attachment, but also understanding that when you lose something, may have some spiritual connection to it as well. So do care. Yeah. So nicely sung. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Shri Kishore Mataji, should we say our prayers? I think Krishna Govind Prabhuji has left. Yeah. Vanchikalputaribhyasya, Kripasindhubhyeva, Patitanam
पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः
Hare Krishna.
कृष्णापट्टनपेटजापट्टनामपरेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंतकोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय श्री
Jai.
प्रभुपाद
प्रभुपाद
की
की जय
Jai.
जय